the first thing that we're going to want to do is we notice that I have this x in the exponent, and yes, I'm going to want to bring it down, and yes, I'm going to want to do that with natural log. However, I need to isolate. It has to just be e to something before I get to that step where I take the natural log. So you want to kind of look at that expression and think, what would you do? Like, let's say this was a variable. What would you do to isolate it? So what would you do first? What do you think? We are going to divide by 4, but we got to do something first. Add the 5. So we're going to add that 5 to both sides. And then we have 4e to the negative 2x equals 8. And sometimes people want to do the natural log right now. No, not yet. You can't have something multiplied by the e, otherwise it's just going to get messy when you type it in your calculator. So I guess you could, but you want to have just e to some power alone before you get to that part. So we divide both sides now by 4. Okay. So, we good so far? So, there's kind of 2 ways of teaching this. We just rewrote things in natural log form, right? So if you want, you can just think of it that way. Or I also taught you that if you take the natural log of both sides, what happens to the exponent? Comes down to the front, correct? So we have negative 2x times natural log of e equals natural log of 2. Now, do me a favor, would you? Get our calculators out. And then we're going to do this one time on our calculator, then you're going to know it for the rest of your life. Oh, I don't know about that. That might be an exaggeration. I want to just talk about what's the natural log. So if I took the natural log of e, and we got to remember we said yesterday we have to write e to the first because it always has an exponent attached. Okay, would you do that for me? Tell me what it is. 1. Okay, here's why. Because remember how natural log and e are inverses of each other? So they essentially cancel each other out. That only happens with natural log of e. So do I really need to divide both sides by natural log of e? If it's 1? No, I can just go ahead and cancel out. And now I need to divide both sides by a negative 2. All right, so I now take the natural log of 2. This is a division sign. I divide it by negative 2, and I'm going to round. I didn't tell you what to round to, did I? Shoot. Let's do thousandth. So I'll do 3 decimals, negative 0.347. All right, do you guys want to try this one on your own? Not do you want to. You never even answer me. So do it. Try this one on your own. I'll give you a minute. It's the same question, same type, and then we'll check our answer. Just give me an indicator. I know you're tired. If you're with me so far. Okay. So we have natural log of 9 divided by -2. We have x is about -1.099. Okay. Are there questions on that type? So you're going to see some things with E. Practice taking, isolating E and then taking the natural log. Okay. So the next question I want to do is other way around. So what if I see something with the natural log today and I'm trying to undo the natural log part? It's the same thing. We're going to first get the natural log expression alone, and then we're going to rewrite it in exponential form. Okay, so I have that 3 times in front. The first thing I'm going to do is divide both sides by 3. The natural log of 4x equals 8. Then I'm going to rewrite it in exponential form, because then I'm going to be able to figure out or undo that natural log part and get to that x. What's the base of natural log? No? E. Yeah. E, we were just doing this in our opener. This would say e to the 8th equals 4x. And can't I calculate using my calculator what e to the 8th is? Yes. So I am going to figure out e to the 8th and then divide that by 4. So x is about 745.239. Okay. And the last problem we're going to do, I know it's in 3 boxes, but the last problem we're going to do has to do with an interest formula. And you will never have to memorize the interest formula. Would be provided for you, okay? And so in Algebra 1, I know it was a long time ago, and you did see it. The formula for continuous interest is A, that means the amount in the account, equals P, that's the amount you started with, and then E to the rate times time. So, today, either that will be provided for you in the problem, or you're going to be given that equation. So in this question, the first thing we're going to do is just use the formula to calculate an amount. So none of the solving skills. When Angelina was a baby, her grandparents deposited. They didn't deposit it twice. They deposited $3,000 into a savings account. We typically, with finance, call that principal, P. It's going to go right here, okay? The interest account was paying 4%. What's 4% as a decimal? It is 0.04, okay? Assuming no deposits or withdrawals, how much would be in the account? So we're going to figure out A. After 10 years. 10 years would be the time. So let's just first plug these all in. The principal was $3,000. we're going to use the E on our calculator, and 0.04 times 10. Now, if you are using one of the smaller calculators, would you make sure you put a parentheses around that? It might automatically come up, okay, because you have to do that whole thing in your exponent. All right, now let's make sure we're not making calculator errors, and let's see what we get. Okay, so just confirm you got the same thing as me. If not, I can help you guys figure out your error. But so the amount in the account would be $4,475, and let's just do 47 cents. Okay. Then I'm going to do one of these two things. I think we'll just pick this one. They're similar. You solve them in similar ways. The other thing that I would ask you to do, since we're trying to figure out what something in the exponent is, right, is this time what I'm going to do is give you an unknown in the exponent, okay? So I'm going to go back to this original formula. The question is how long? How long means I'm going to be solving for what variable is time? T. So I'm going to be solving for T. How long will it take for the account to reach $10,000? Okay, so I'm going to start with my original setup. I want to know how long it will take for the money to reach $10,000. We started with $3,000. The rate was 0.04, and I'm trying to solve for time. I'll make it a capital T so you don't think it's like a plus sign. Okay, so looking about what we did before, we are going to want to take the natural log of both sides, or write it in log form. But before we do that, this E expression has to be alone. So let's divide both sides by 3,000. It's not going to be exact. Okay, so it's 3.3 repeating. What I'm going to do in a second is just so I take off the rounding part, I'm going to just leave that answer in there, okay? All right, now to bring that exponent down, I'm going to take the natural log of both sides. So I have the natural log of 3.3 repeating. The 0.04t is going to drop times the natural log of E. All right, what was the natural log of E again? Who remembers? 1. So you don't have to bother dividing both sides by natural log of E. It's just 1. I just need to divide by 0.04. All right, so because I don't want to round 3.3 repeating to 3.3, I want to be the most accurate. For me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that answer function on your calc. I'm going to take the natural log of the previous answer, and then I'm going to divide that by 0.04. And let's just round, that's pretty close to 30. I mean, we wouldn't probably measure years in 0.1, but we'll call this about 30 years.